righteous living right in the eyes of God. All right. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X at Hope FM Live. Very, very interesting conversation we've been having on right standing with God. All right. Team Online, kindly tell me whether I'm audible na pia kama picha iko shwari. All right. I want to read from the book of Obadiah, Obadiah verse 17. Obadiah verse 17, even as we continue. But on Mount Zion there shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. This is Obadiah verse 17. Probably najua si kitabu, some people would want to really read Obadiah, Habakkuk, Zechariah, Micah, some interesting books of the Bible that we should, create a culture of reading. However, Team Online, kindly mniambie kama picha iko sawa. However, today I want us to continue reflecting on our stand with God, our right standing with God, and how that it is for our benefit. It's not really for the benefit of God. God remains to be God, whether you're living in righteousness or, you're living in sin. God remains to be God. He says in the book of Malachi that I am the Lord and I change not. So God does not change because of how we relate with him. It is actually for our benefit. Once again, the book of Obadiah verse 17. Mr. Cheniki Matokenoti, thank you so very much. But upon Mount Zion there shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. The house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Now many, not many, but most of us would really be interested in the deliverance part and possessing our possessions. But we are not very keen on there shall be holiness. I believe some time back we were discussing and looking at the book of Hebrews, how that the scepter, our rod of authority, how we wield power against the enemy in this kingdom is just by being holy. The cheapest way to overcome darkness is for light to show up, right? So before we get to upon Mount Zion there shall be deliverance, and we shout very loud amens, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions, and we shout very loud amens. Not many of us are willing to shout very big amens when it says, and there shall be holiness. However, that is the cheapest way to overcome the enemy, because the enemy, the devil, is always looking for a foothold. Kitu tu anaweza jishikia and accuse you. Remember, scripture also says that he's the accuser of the brethren. But when there is nothing really that he can point and accuse you with before the Father, in the courts of heaven, then he's really, for lack of a better word, powerless against you, right? Upon Mount Zion there shall be deliverance. Before you are delivered, actually the cheapest way also to move away from certain sins is just to be holy. And the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. This also goes on to tell us that actually taking possession of that which Christ took possession of for us on the cross is highly dependent on your right standing with God. And righteousness is basically your right standing with God. Even your understanding, your comprehension of what happened on the cross is actually based on your right standing with God. You can't really fully comprehend, or not even fully, you can't really get an understanding of what happened on the cross if you're plagued with condemnation. If because of sin, guilt is over you, you're carrying a lot of guilt. Your mental capacity to, assimilate that which happened on the cross, inakuwa very limited, because you're already not standing right with God. So the holiness, the righteousness that God advocates for is really for our benefit. If it's about attracting healing, possessing healing that was actually won for us on Calvary, it has to do with holiness, with your right standing with God. Let me read that scripture that I love quoting about the scepter of the kingdom. This is Hebrews chapter 1 verse 8. But to the Son he says, your throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of your kingdom. A scepter is really that which a king uses to rule or to show that he has power over a certain kingdom. And scripture is saying, this is God now speaking to the Son, who is Christ. Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of your kingdom. So what we wield power with against the enemy in this kingdom is righteousness. Why? Because it actually emboldens you against the wiles of the devil. That because you are standing right with God, you are assured of the help of God. Am I saying that God cannot help you because you are in sin? God can show you mercy. He is full of compassion. However, it is much more important for you to be actually righteous, to walk in righteousness, to walk in holiness. Be ye holy even as your Father is holy. That is the cheapest way, to ward off the advances of the wicked, because he's the author of darkness. He dwells in darkness. If it has to do with plaguing you with a disease, if it has to do with attacking your finance, attacking your mind, attacking whatever it is, he'll find a way to use the entry point of sin, whether it's lies, whether it's anger, whether it's immorality, whether whichever it is, he'll use that as a foothold to just get a hold of you. Let me read Psalm verse 15. Okay, actually chapter 15 rather. Lord, who may abide in your tabernacle, who may dwell in your holy hill? He who walks uprightly and works righteousness and speaks the truth in his heart. He who does not backbite with his tongue, nor does evil to his neighbor, nor does he take up a reproach against his friend, in whose eyes a vile person is despised, but he honors those who fear the Lord. He who swears to his own heart and does not change, he who does not put out his money at usury, nor does he take a bribe against the innocent. He who does these things shall never be moved. My focus really is on verse 1 and 2. Who may abide in your tabernacle, who may dwell in your holy hill? He who walks uprightly and works righteousness and speaks the truth in his heart. Most of us want to appear before God. Obadiah, the one that we were just reading, verse 17. We want to appear before God in Zion, but really we don't have that posture, the right posture to appear before him. Scripture is telling us that he who walks uprightly and works righteousness, this is the kind of person that may abide in the tabernacle of the Lord, may dwell in his holy hill. I want to challenge us today to just examine ourselves and ask ourselves, if I am to resist the devil so that he can flee. Scripture says in the book of James, you first begin by submitting yourself to God. Most of us would love to quote, resist the devil and he will flee. But just before that, scripture says, submit yourself to God. So it is your submission to God that actually empowers you to resist the devil and he flees. But can you imagine resisting the devil, expecting him to flee, but you're meddling in sin? So you're really partnering with him to destroy yourself and you want to chase him away. It really can't happen. Right? Once again, Obadiah verse 17, but on Mount Zion there shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. The house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Even as we strive to possess that which Christ, did for us on Calvary, let us understand that the best way to just be in possession of our rightful possessions as sons of God, daughters of God, is to be holy, is to walk in righteousness. The best way for us to experience even deliverance upon Mount Zion, as scripture has told us, is when there is righteousness. We attract God by living holy. The simplest way to have God around you, to have his presence around you, is just to live righteously. The simplest way. And scripture has told us that the house of Jacob only possesses her possessions when there is holiness upon Mount Zion, and then there shall be deliverance. That is our full tank devotion for today. Kindly, you can send in your prayer requests on WhatsApp 0717 400 555. Someone right here on WhatsApp anasema the word possess in the Oxford Dictionary means literally to make an effort to take. Kamanda wa Nandi Hills, asanti sana sana. You can send in your prayer requests on WhatsApp 0717 400 555. We'll be praying together after we get some few worship songs right here. And also on text 20933. We'll also be praying together with anyone that would love to surrender their life to Christ. That is the first step to overcoming the devil, is just submitting your life to the living God. Keep it right here. This is Full Tank on Route Yetu. Unasikiza Hope FM, where you listen and live.